recording? Okay. And then I have to bring.
I still probably share this. Like over here, before they had that. We had stocks. Stocks is terrible. Yeah. Nobody. It like it was terrible. Yeah. You were like, this, we want to take most people are playing. Just down there. But yeah, it's not.
Well, that would be more, you know, you probably have an answer.
But yeah, so growing up playing baseball, I think yeah. And anyway, so I was really involved. I'm sure for a keeper, but I'm really pretty athletic, right? It's like I'm with my hands. I played first base in baseball, get it to work, but I played all the but anyways, yeah, so it became leagues are yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever. Outfield, infield, I can catch it back, whatever.
Yeah, let's get something we had here. I think we're going with our office. Yeah. They kind of good about it.
Yeah, you would think it's maybe that they have. Oh, get an item set up.
Okay.
Three of those.
Oh, you got it. That's it.
That's how I knew I'd stay out of trouble.
Yeah, third part. Coming up here in the next few days. 4 minutes after 2, I can read that here. You want to get started?
Started.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's switch sides for a second. I'm gonna draw one for everyone. And so if you're here sitting in this room today, first off, thank you for showing up. It's showing your commitment to being the economist of choice for your clients. And right now, there's some uncertainty in the marketplace, right?
Very much so.
Yes. Wonder, and when we leave here today, let's say an hour from today, and I want you to step out of this room saying this was the best hour I could have possibly had. What do we need to talk about specifically?
Besides alcohol, I mean,
What's that? I didn't hear you.
It's being recorded.
Yeah. Internally, it's a safe place, you know. What do we need to talk about today? You guys can get out here and say, man, I'm great use of my time. What do you need to learn in this room?
market stats, I mean.
Yeah, so we're the market staff, and let me do that.
What's going on in the market for housing sales in our area today?
Days of market.
Yeah, days on, we'll cover the actual, I'll be covering the days. How do you use this data to help, not only help my clients, but also attract? Yeah. So using it in conversations.
And also understand that what the pockets or the ranges are, like 600 to 800, or what happens to all these.
Breaking it down,
Yeah.
so we get specific. There's a second part that you mentioned, besides conversations with clients, you said not only that, but something else.
It's not just helping, but also attracting.
And, okay.
This is for lead attraction.
Attracting, okay, yeah. I don't want to attract people. New clients. Okay, so market stats, being really into the details of different price points, days on market, conversations, how do we use this with our clients, and how can we attract new clients from it? And Rita, you want to do it?
How to avoid using real estate jargon that we understand, but the clients don't. So I'll be able to explain the stats in layman's terms.
Okay. So avoid the real estate jargon, put it in terms that people can understand.
Love that.
Yeah.
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch, okay.
The market of the little bit elevator pitch.
So, Ann and Leslie use the words, what they say, party check. Yes.
You know, you've got that one slide that has the 5 charts on there, that's your go-to party chatter. Well, let's get into the monthly, what's going on right today. For the pool that's happening.
Yes, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Okay. All right,
this on here. We'll see if we get out of here. And there's something else you really want to talk about. What's not on here? Okay,
This is my personal view. We just had a conversation about it. Why this information I think is more valuable than our quarterly report.
Ooh, yes, okay, yeah. Change happens slowly and then suddenly, and this is the most recent data, what's going on right now, so I love that. And sometimes the numbers can be skewed when you pull too big of a data pool, you can't see what's happening really quickly, both. So MMO, of course, the MMOs. All right, we cover this stuff in the next 52 minutes. We've spent our time well today, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so nobody has something to write with or a way to take notes?
Yes.
And
Yeah, they're clapping a whole bunch of them right there.
yeah, perfect. Do we have any more are these?
Sharpie.
Yeah, they're usually on the back of this thing.
Yeah.
I think we use this. You guys have a piece of paper, right?
Hey, can you go get this up at Kirby Aubrey?
That would be enough. Thank you. I'll go get one. I'm sure there's some. All right, so what I want you to do is draw 3 circles. Okay?
Question?
Yes.
Question. Can you put your on the camera? All we're seeing is the screen sharing. We can't see what you're drawing.
Oh, yeah, we can throw the screen share. Thank you for saying that.
Or bring that a little to the middle.
Yeah. I can move this over. The camera should follow.
I know, but yeah, but it's so far away.
Oh, yeah. There we go. All right, so everybody have 3 circles?
John, can you see us now?
No, you're on your screen share. We're seeing the market overview. We're not seeing the camera.
Joe, tap on the meeting room and that should make it big.
There it is. Can you see me now?
Now we see.
Okay, all right, so draw these 3 circles. Everybody got this?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Way better try that much. Yeah. Okay, so what each of these circles represent? This says everything that we could have, everything we could know, and everything we could do. You guys see this? These circles represent everything we have, everything we know, and everything we could do. And if you're anything like me, sometimes there feels like there's this pressure that we have to know everything, we have to do everything, we have to have everything. The reality is we can't, right? Look at Elon Musk, pretty wealthy guy, right? Could he buy this building?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. Could he buy maybe the forum?
Yeah.
Probably. Could he buy all the property in Johns Creek? Maybe. Could he buy the city of Atlanta? Maybe at a certain point he probably can't. Could he buy everything? I know. It's like even Elon Musk, who we'd agree is one of the most wealthy people in the world, can't have everything, right? It's impossible to have everything. Okay. Who reads a lot of books in here? Okay, yeah. How many books do you read a year? 27.
6,
Probably.
once every 2 months.
So Chuck, anybody read more than Chuck? 30? Mary Ann?
That's for years past.
Oh, okay, good.
They're up 4-year-old, I don't think.
30 to 30 books.
At least 30 or 40 with him.
Yeah. So do you know how many business books are a year?
Oh, I could never imagine.
It's over 6,000, right?
Yeah.
It's impossible, even as a phenomenal reader, right, reading 20, 30 plus books a year, to be able to know everything, right? So we can't have everything. We can't know everything. And how many hours are in the day?
24.
We can't do everything either, okay? So I just want you to take a deep breath. What we need to, and be comfortable knowing it's okay, we don't need to have and know and do all of this. What we need to do is choose this portion. What is it really important that we know? Which is why we're in this room today, right? What is it really important that we need to do? We can't do everything. We have 24 hours. What is the part we really need to do, right? And what are the things we do need to have in our lives to live the lives that we want? Does it make sense?
Yeah, right.
Right? So just again, take a deep breath. I don't expect you to walk out of today and be the master of all the numbers, you know? Pick the parts that are going to help you in this moment and be a student that's committed to learning and growth. You guys got it? And in doing so, people are attracted to the journey you're on. They don't expect you to know everything. Let me give you an example. You're new in the, let's say you're a new agent in the business, okay? People, you heard the saying before, people don't care how much you know until they what?
How much care?
Right, okay, why?
About them?
Yeah.
It's all about them.
They want to have that you care.
Yeah, like you have their best self-interest, helping them, you know, in heart, that's what you care about. The reality is, if you don't know the answer, can you get the answer? Can you find the answer from somebody? If you don't know it? Yeah, absolutely. So it's okay. So people are attracted to someone they know that cares about them, has honesty, has integrity, and will get the answer if they don't know. It's okay if you don't understand all of this, and people want to be on this journey with you, you know? So it's okay, wherever you're at in your life, don't let you maybe newer in the business, you may be seasoned in the business, don't let that hold you back, right? Everything starts up here. Okay, does that make sense? A great way to start this is just, like I said, don't worry about knowing all of it. We're gonna go over the part that's important. Okay, so these circles in line, we're going to do it. Okay, ready to jump in?
Sure.
Okay, all right, so let's do the screen share. And then we'll go to the next slide. And what's gonna happen is I'm gonna paint a picture. Okay, and at the end of this picture, I'm gonna give you the shortened way to do it, but it's important to slow down so you understand the background of it, just in case you do get asked some more questions. Okay, I'll give you the little 30-second here towards the end. Okay, what else is important on this? Go to the PDF. That's what we're gonna go to.
I'm not agreeing that Zoom, so.
Oh, yeah, we need to do the screen share. Good. So,
That one.
yeah, what I need to do, yeah, is get that bigger,
There we go.
and then share screen, and then share. Share. All right, Joe, you're our go-to guy in the sky. Joe, can you see the screen?
Yeah, I see you, Roger, 10-4 there.
Okay, thank you, Joe. All right, so if you can click on that PDF one more time. Actually, you might have to click on the actual mouse on the screen, and then it'll give you access to click again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna go through some slides today, and I'm gonna show you the easy ones. What are the 3 biggest concerns or objections that people have in the market right now?
Interest rates.
The interest rates, thanks, Chuck. What else?
Where am I gonna go?
Okay. And where am I gonna go? So how we buy, right? Yeah, where am I gonna move?
If I'm selling, I'm not gonna get top dollar for my house anymore.
Okay.
The tale of 2 markets.
There was a really good exercise that I've done with a lot of clients in the past. And this is what this looks like. If somebody comes in, they say, I'm trying to time the market, you know, I'm gonna time the market. This is what I would do. Then I say, okay, markets are cyclical, right? They go up, they go down, right? And what I want you to do is I'm gonna draw the market. I want you to tell me when we reach the peak, or tell me when we reach the bottom. In this example, I want you to tell me when we reach. So say stop when we reach the peak. You missed it. You missed it.
Uh-oh.
Tell me to stop. Here's the reality of it. We won't know that we passed the peak until when. The same thing goes with the bottom, right? The same thing goes with the exact same thing with the bottom. You do the exact same exercise in the bottom. So when we're talking about objections, interest rates, you know, where to move, top dollar, a lot of this is going to come back to one main thing, and we cannot force someone to sell a home. Right? We might be able to swindle, like a good salesperson could swindle someone into buying a watch or a suit or something. This is too big of a financial experience for somebody to just fall into it. It takes too much time. There's too many things going on. I've never had somebody say they swindle me into buying this. It just doesn't happen, right? So we need to understand what's their driving factor. Find motivated. We can't convince somebody that doesn't have a big motivating factor to move because they won't. If they're just wanting to move because they just want to move, they don't have a real reason to do it, then you're gonna be sitting there saying, why can't I get them to reduce this price? Or why can't I get them to make a stronger offer on this property? Thing is, you can't. If their motivation isn't high enough, now if they're moving here from Michigan, right, and they have to find a home in the next 3 weeks, they're gonna be renting an apartment, and they don't want to put their kids in an apartment, right? Then they have a pretty high motivation. They will probably make pretty good offers on homes. Do you see the difference? Right? Same thing if they're selling, they gotta move, they don't want to carry 2 payments on their old property, they need to sell it, they've got a high motivation, make sense? So, all right, so keep that in mind as we're going through this, then we can hit interest rates, and we're gonna solve for this today. So we will make time towards the end, and maybe during the conversation, we'll go through this stuff, and I'll help you some objection handling. Terry, what would you add to that? Anything that's popping in your mind?
No, I think you hit all the points that I think that there are definitely 2 different markets that are happening simultaneously right now. And I think that talking to a client about where they land in there and how to navigate that.
Let's dig into that. We'll do that. I'm gonna grab this and then I'm gonna need you to go back here a second. I'm actually gonna go forward. I have a question for you. What business is the news in? Yes.
Sliding that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what
Sorry.
Okay, so the question is, what business is the news in?
Renovation business.
Ed.
Beer.
I mean, advertisements. Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole point of advertising is to get eyeballs. They want people looking at that material. How do they get eyeballs? With
Or clicks now.
here, clicks, right, or clicks, right here. So I would love it if all the news was rainbows and sunshine. That's not the case. They found pretty quickly, they get a much more click rates, or watches or views or whatever else through fear. So here's what this could look like. This is like the world's falling type numbers that you could hear from the news media. They could say, we've got 15.4% more homes in the market, 21% less homes under contract than May last year. We've got 30% less homes selling, and the median days on market is up 87.5%. The market's crashing. Are all those numbers true? So yes, they are, right? You have to put them in context. Has it, have we ever said something and then somebody pulls a certain part of it out of context and it is not quite the same meaning? Right? This is the exact same thing, right? The exact same thing. So, okay, compared to what? Compared to what? Okay, well, 15 days on market is 87% higher than 8. 8 is ridiculous low.
Yeah.
What's it typically? What's a good market considered? An average, good market? 45, 60. We used to take, 4 to 6 months listing was common, in a good market. 6 months to a year for a while, right? So 15 days is still stupid low. It is crazy low, right? Okay, active property. Yes, it's higher by 15%, right? It went from 4,900 last year to 5,600 properties, right? At the same time, look at it, it's still crazy low. We have 1.6 months of inventory. There was only 0.9 months of inventory last year. And the best one we'll get to in a minute, you'll see once we get through all this conversation, is the 6-month trend chart where you can actually start to see which way are we heading. Okay, doesn't make sense. Like at a first glance, you could absolutely take this the wrong way. Say, oh my goodness, right? But a bigger picture, we're in a great market. And when we're done talking today, you'll be empowered to be able to share some numbers with somebody in 30 seconds, right? Less time than we just spent talking about this. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Question for you.
Yes.
On the sale percentages, does
Yeah.
that mean that they fell out and had to go back on the market? Or
Yes.
they completely fell out?
They didn't sell during their listing period, so if it was relisted, it still counts as a failed listing.
Right.
And it also counts as a new listing. We'll pop back on, it counts as an active property. So it will show both. What's a good, so fail is up 7.5%, about 20% of them fail. What is it in a decent market? What does a good market look like?
25.
Above 30% is pretty common, or 35%. So that's why I really like, let's go back to this one. I love this one, right? I just wanted to show you what the media could do first by saying, here's all the bad news. We're in a recession, the world's crashing, everything, don't buy into housing. Okay, this is a great slide to have in front of you. Okay.
Yeah.
2019, we still had a shortage of inventory. There were enough 2.5 months of inventory, not enough months of inventory. What's it out to market?
6 months, 4 to 6.
All of these are still a seller's market. So even going back to 2019, look at this is really where you get a better picture of this. At 5,600 homes in the market, there were almost 3 times as many active properties to choose from in 2019 and 2016. Okay. However, was there 3 times as many going pending? No, right? So if you look at this number, out of the 50, there's 5,600 properties that are actively for sale right now, 5,700 that are under contract right now, and 3,500 that close. So if you look at this number, it is not that far off from this. This one, it's almost 3 times as many. You see this? Like it's almost 3 1/3, right? This one's getting close to 70–80% of them. You see what I mean?
Well, that's where you've got the 2.8 and the 2.5.
Right. And that's
the
what
1.6.
Marianne got it. That's what impacts this, the months on market, how much, I'm sorry, supply in months. What does supply mean? What does 1.6 months mean in English? We talked about,
Active listings.
It's not. There were no more things being added in. How much supply to sell them all How long would it take?
Yeah.
From today?
Great stat. I think that would work just fine. That's what we're talking about, is avoiding the real estate jargon. If somebody heard months of inventory, they don't know what that means, you know, and you said it well, if not another home went up for sale, they'd all be gone in 1.6 months.
That's how long it would take you to sell all the homes on the market.
And you say
Today.
a balanced market is 6, so we're still a very severe shortage. What happens when you have a supply and demand? What happens when there is a lot of demand and not enough supply to meet it? Prices go up, right? So that's logical. Now, looking at this, prices are definitely, there's no doubt about that.
Supply and demand.
And then that's how that's reflected, meaning, because this has been happening for a while, I mean, since 2016, even before then, we've been a seller's market, you know? Okay, so, median days on market, yeah, it's gone up, what did it say, 87%, remember it was 8 days or whatever, May last year? Median days on market, up 87%, you know? Yeah, it's 15 days, you know, and even back here, it's less than it was in 2019 and 2016.
Hey, Aubrey.
Yeah.
Question and a comment. Do you have any sway with chart masters to get them to put total number of homes that have come on market, not sold, not acting, not any, but total?
Number of new listings?
Yes, or something like that, because what I have to do when I'm sharing these numbers, I have to go and add them up, because a really good set to look at is actually see how many homes last year to this year, we're actually about 1,000 homes less.
Right.
That actually have come on the market.
Great point.
And it tells a story of what's going on in this market.
The guy that runs this now, his name's Jerome, I'll ask him if he can do that. Marianne.
What I really like about this slide, this perspective, is realizing that COVID was a bubble.
It's a unicorn.
And
Yeah.
I like unicorn better. The unicorn is hard to compare this year to anything else. So by taking 2016 and 2019, just like it says, taking the last 2 to 3 years it's like, they're just outliers, unicorns, not to be word, outliers and, unicorns.
Yeah.
And another reason that from 2016 to 2023, there's such a huge difference is construction costs have gone up astronomically too. You cannot build the same thing
It's
for the same
substantially more.
price. It's so much more expensive, again, because of supply and demand.
Right.
We don't have the workers, we don't have all the same materials. It takes longer for everything to come in.
Right, and because of that, look what happened. Median sales price to list price has gone back up again to 99.8. You remember just a few months ago, it was 96.2?
Yes.
And that's why I wanted to look at it again, because the message in Q1 and the message in Q2 were vastly different.
Yes.
And so staying in the market, and even when we were still in the seller's market with 14,000 new listings, we were still seeing multiple offers then as well. If it's priced correctly, it was still selling within the 7 days for list price.
Even in the worst market we've ever seen, go back to 2010, there was time, and I know a lot of you were in the business back then, if you had a good property priced right, it would still sell with multiple offers, that would happen,
It was.
right? You have a good property priced right in any market, it will sell quickly. This market, this market has come back, look at price reductions, 31.2%. That is the lowest it's been since 2016, right? Okay, do you remember what it was in January?
Probably 40 to 50.
46%. It was 46%. 46% had to adjust their price. The median sales price to list price ratio was 96% just a few months ago, right? And the number of failed listings had jumped up substantially. It was around 40% as well. So for a second, it was over 40%. It was scary for a second there. However, this market has come back like no other, and that's what we're going to see on the charts today.
Aubrey, I think people, so I do a YouTube channel, I'm constantly doing stats once a month and updating it. I think people underestimated the simplest thing in economics is supply and demand. And even though in first quarter and then the fourth quarter, people were like, oh my gosh, we're crashing, all this stuff. I'm constantly like, no, the supply's not there and it's not going to be there anytime soon. Right. And so this idea of the crash just didn't make any sense, the supply and demand.
So question for you, for everybody, what caused sales to slow down so substantially last year?
Fear.
Mhm.
Interest rates.
Yeah, those two. And ultimately, what happened? Why did people end up just going ahead and moving? What happened?
They had to move.
Life choice, life.
Life happened.
Life.
They're like, you know what, we're gonna postpone it. Life happens. We're gonna postpone it a little bit, but at a certain point, like, you know what, we gotta make a move. We gotta do it. And it's 6%-ish interest rate. That's still over the period of history of time, a good interest rate.
Yeah.
It is. It really
Hey,
is.
Aubrey, quick question. This,
Yeah.
this stats encompass what area or areas?
So the metro, the 40, how many is it?
There's 8 counties.
Yeah.
And I like
Yes,
to
8
preface, but it's not south at least. So we're not getting anything in McDonough or Stockbridge or it's north metro, the 8 counties.
120, I-20 or?
Yeah.
At the end of this, I think it has the last slide, I think has a picture of the counties they included, so we'll put that here.
Which is a great tool later, because Gary and I were talking about it, that they recreated the numbers. If you're old school and you used to use the number charts. of
The
where
areas. They changed the areas. Okay, the counties of Cherokee, Cobb, Cab, Douglas, Forsyth, North Bolton, South Bolton, Gwinnett, and Fulton.
Carrie, what do you add to that?
No, I just love that it really shows where we are compared to, we have been in a seller's market since probably 2015, 16, and how it compares now. And just like all markets are slow and changed dramatically, the prices in Atlanta from say 2007 to 2016 went up like 100. That's it. And then from 2019, you can see the biggest jump we've seen in many years from May 2019 to 23. We've gone up 150.
What do you think was a couple contributing factors to prices going up so quickly there between 2020 and 2023?
Supply
Supply and demand.
Supply and demand, and I think the number of buyers coming into the market of first-time home buyers, I think a huge population of the United States turned 30.
Well, millennials, yeah.
There's a ton of millennials that are coming into the market as first-time home buyers, sometimes second-time home buyers at this point. They're moving up, and they were stuck inside forever, so now they really want.
Well, you had the massive suppression of new construction after the crash.
Yeah.
What?
Each year they weren't making enough houses, the people that stopped having babies moved to Atlanta. You know, the demand still kept going up. So what did we say a couple minutes ago helped cause the housing to slow down a number of sales to begin last year?
Bigger interest rates.
Chris, with the inventory combined, so what, if you flip it, what caused prices to go up so fast? It was low inventory combined with really cheap money, everybody wanted to buy a house.
Yes.
You know, you get a 3% or some of my clients close like 2%, mid-2s in interest rates.
Yeah.
I remember there was a time where people could lock in 30-year fixed for like 2.5, 2.75.
I think with the pandemic, people appreciated the sense of having a home in a backyard and a deck, something you don't have in an apartment typically. So those apartment dwellers started to flood the market as well. So.
Much, you know, and I'm curious to see what happens up here. So a lot of these employers, if you notice, are asking their people to come back in the office again.
Yeah.
I'm really curious what's gonna happen here in the future when some of these people that said, oh, we'll never have to go back to work again, bought this house an hour and a half away, you know, from their work, and now they're having to go back in. One of two things is gonna happen. You know, either they're going to get sick of that commute and move again, right? Or they're gonna have to find another job. You know, so we may see some inventory, maybe we need it, you know, to come on the market in the not too distant future as more companies push for back in office type stuff.
And I wanted to know if y'all are seeing this too. A lot of people now, in my opinion, of what I've seen, are not selling because they have that low interest rate. They may be back to buying, but they're not selling their home to get into their new one. So now with that low interest rate, it just got flipped into an investment property, which is smart. And I would advise them to do that, to build it well through investment property, but it's also contributing to our number of current of listings. Is if they're not gonna put that house on the market, now they're renting it, that's just less inventory that we have for the active buyers to choose from.
That's a good point. Carrie, in the cash flow club that we did, the first step a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, if somebody bought a house when their kid or grandkid is 5, they have how many years until that kid should go to college? From age 5 to 18. Right? So 13 years, if they bought that house, let's say it was a $300,000 house, and they put down 20%, how much would they have to put down? 20% of $300,000, yeah, 60 grand, okay? If that house, their mortgage in the beginning is $240,000, to your point of like turning it into a rental, right? Their mortgage is $240,000. What is it? If it's depreciation just at 5% per year, what is that $300,000 house worth 13 years later? It's well over $500,000. What's their mortgage balance?
Very low.
183. It's $183,000. Depending on what interest rate they have. Look at, I think I did it like 6 point something. You know,
But at
so
3%.
yeah. So what kind of a cushion do they now have equity in that house? If it's worth about 600 and they owe about 200, how much equity do they have?
About
$400,000. How much does it cost to send a kid to school per year right now?
$400,000.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
It depends if they're in school. I mean, they take into account. Yeah, well, let's say 100 grand should cover everything.
100 grand.
You've got 50 grand might be it. You've got enough money. If somebody had one property that's going to go for 13 years, they have their kids college.
This is 25,000 for Georgia Tech a year.
That's great.
It's a public university.
Not-
Well, Duke University and all those can get pretty high up.
Yeah, I think it might have been Duke.
Well, add in food, entertainment, everything else. Yeah. Yeah, right, yeah, room board, room, yeah, right, room board. Yeah, and then add in a lot of people have one kid, right? They probably have 2 kids, so if it is 25 plus all their, other fees, 50 grand a person, now you're at, will be $100,000 per kid for at least 4 years.
So I think, to that point, I think these low interest rates just created a lot of generational wealth for
It will.
people. But we still have science, right?
So here's what the challenge is. Would you guys like to have a couple ideas on ways to pick up new listings? Okay, all right, so a lot of them would move, but they're like, I don't know where I'm gonna move. And they say, well, I don't want to give up my 3% interest rate, right? Okay, well, here's two good things. I was sitting at a team meeting 4 weeks ago, and there was a guy that was in there talking about short-term rentals. And what he did is he did the management of short-term rentals for people. It can be a headache to do short-term rentals. A lot of people don't want to deal with the management, but typical management companies don't do short-term rentals. They want long-term rentals. So you have that niche. And I was talking about it, I was like, and it might just pop in my mind. I was like, a lot of investors have properties that they could get a better return on in a different area. Okay, let me give you an example. If I was in your shoes right now and I need to create inventory tomorrow, let's say we'd all be like a listing this afternoon or tomorrow, yes or yes?
Yes.
Okay, so here's how you could do this. I would go on to Airbnb or any of the other sites that show short-term rentals. I would pull up the address, okay? I will pull up the address and you can look up in Realist, you can look up who owns that property. We can all look up who owns that property. You can then pull up and forewarn what their phone number is based on their address, right? And if you guys don't have forewarn, I think you can get it for like, we brought it here.
See if you can get it for 6 or 12.
Yeah, something like that. It's less than $11, so maybe $10 or $11 a month, per agent. And so now you have their phone number, but before you call them, you could go ahead and call them. Here's what I do. I call them and say, hey, Jonathan, I saw you on I'm a real estate agent, Keller Williams. I saw you on an Airbnb. I'm just curious, if I was able to find you a property that would give you a better return on your investment, would you consider 1031 exchanging it to another property? What would a smart investor say?
Yes.
Every smart investor is going to think logically, not emotionally, right?
Correct.
Whereas as a buyer and seller, I'm going to think emotionally because it's my family, but if it's an investment, there's a better return. I can 1031 exchange it without a tax penalty. Let's go, Okay, so then they would say, well, how are you gonna do that? I said, well, give me a few minutes. Are you pretty open to areas, any areas you would avoid? I say, no. So, okay, great. Give me a couple days and they circle back with you. Now I will go to what areas give you the best return on investment. In other words, you guys familiar with Pulte, right? Everybody knows Pulte. A lot of rental properties are Pulte properties because they're usually typically like entry type properties, okay? Did you know if you buy a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath in Crabapple Lakes or Crabapple Park, it's it's $100,000 more than the exact same home in Kennesaw. Do you see what I mean?
Yep.
Right? Exact same home, $100,000 more, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you say, all right, well, if that's the case, what's the difference in rental? And you take, okay, if somebody bought a now $450,000, $500,000 plus home in that neighborhood versus a $300,000 property in, or $350,000 in Kennesaw, what's the final payment they would make and what's their cash flow on it? You understand how I'm getting there? To be about the same interest rate, 6.5 or 7, whatever it is for investors, which one is gonna give me a better cash flow? Make sense? My mortgage payment minus my rental is gonna give me what my cash flow is. You make sense? So now you just pick the areas. I would pick areas that you know don't give a really good return, and I would target those Airbnbs. Make sense? Because you know they could go to another area and get a better return. Do you guys follow how to do this? Does it make sense? Who didn't follow what I was saying? Does everybody get it so far? Okay, now you're like, okay, great. Let's say Kennesaw is the area. I don't know, I didn't run the numbers lately. Let's say Kennesaw was a better bang for the buck than, you know, some areas around here. Okay, or maybe Norcross has a better, you know, rental return rate than Johns Creek does. Okay, so you look at people in Johns Creek, find some properties in Norcross, 1031 exchange it. Okay, you just created listings, but how do you find those other listings? How do you get the business from those other people? Okay, so we talked about where to move. You go to the neighborhoods or areas that would be good rental properties, and the biggest fear they have is this: a lot of people are like, yeah, I moved, but I'm worried about giving up my interest rate. Okay, I'm gonna piece together a couple pieces of a puzzle which makes sense for you. I usually have a slide for this. I didn't put it on my other slide. I probably could have. I should have. You can go into the MLS. I've said this probably 3 times here, but it's good. Leaders are repeaters. You can go into the MLS. You can go up for sold sales between, let's say, 2018 to 2022, right? Everything that's sold, and let's say in Norcross, let's say you pick that area because that's the best return for rental property. You pick Norcross, sold between those years, right? And you add a field at the bottom. You know, when you're on Matrix at the bottom, if you scroll down, when you're under searching residential properties at the bottom, you can click add or remove field. Okay, add or remove a field called terms. TERMS. You got it? Terms. When you do that, now when you go back to that page, you can select the things that are assumable mortgages. So why did I pick the years 2018, 2019 through 2022? They probably have a real interest rate. Chances are they have a probably 3% interest rate. So because that investor in Jonathan's example, they might have a loan that could be assumed by an investor, but if they don't, that's okay. We're trying to create more inventory. These people in Norcross might say, yeah, I moved, but I'm worried about finding another low interest rate. You can say, what if I was able to find you a home that had a 3% interest rate or 4% interest rate? Then would you consider moving? What do you think they'd probably say?
Sure.
Yeah, if their motivation's there, you can do that. Say, yeah, give me a few days. Where are you looking? So now you just run a search for the area they're looking for. You check the box for returns, and you check these boxes: FHA, assumable,
There's no assumable in
and,
there.
and VA.
There's no, they've got assumable.
Assumed.
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
ask you if that. was-
Yeah, and I'll go back in later. Check the boxes that all apply for that. I did this a month ago. There was over 1,500 properties in every little area you look in. That's your pool. Out of 1,500, some of those gonna want to move. They're gonna move regardless, right? Yeah, Jonathan.
This might take us way off topic, and it's okay for another day, but that's it. How easy is it to assume?
Great question. Easy answer. It's qualifying assumable. So let's say that person says, yeah, you know, Marianne, if you could find me another property with a low interest rate, I'd make a move. And you have somebody that you know, you find a house for them and they want to assume that mortgage, it's qualifying assumable. They would just go to, once you agreed on a price, like you're doing negotiations for the property, get it under contract, subject to them getting that loan assumed. That would be your financing contingency, them assuming that loan, right? If they couldn't assume that loan, they could get out of the property. All they do is do the same thing they usually do, turn in bank statements, W-2s, returns to that lender, right? And they qualify and they get to assume that person's loan. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's say the purchase price they're gonna buy it for was $300,000 and the loan balance was only 200. But they needed to put down a little bit of money on it. They might have a small second for 30 or 40 or 50 or $60,000. Make sense? Okay, I threw a lot at you really quickly. I just want your mind. I'm happy to stick around afterwards to actually physically show you how to do that. Today's really about the numbers.
Yeah, I
okay?
was about to do it, and I thought, well, that might.
It'll take too much time. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
You can assume how much.
Okay. All right, so you want to talk about this one?
Well, I'd like to talk about this one is what I was talking about earlier, is the tail. Is this the right slide?
Yeah.
This is the one that I really like.
Then go back one, what's the after this one? You want me to talk about this one first, you do the next one?
You go for it.
Okay, so I always look at the bottom first to see what the averages are. So right now, if you look at this, the number of closings, 3,500, pending ratio, 50%, is that good or bad? We'll talk about in a second. Failed listings, this is pretty similar to what we just looked at 2 slides ago, okay? So after the median days on market is 15 days, this gives you the breakdown per price point is all it does, okay? Let's go to the next one. The next one's the better slide to look at. Okay, go ahead.
No, well, I just like this one a lot because it shows really the tail of to market, because it shows you the percentage of active listings that had a price reduction. And then what happens if it did have a price reduction? So the pending median days on market, say for a price range of 400, we all sell somewhere between 300 and 500 average price point, right?
That's the average of metro Atlanta.
Exactly. So if we start, let's do the 350 to 400, there were active numbers were 687. 41% of them had a price reduction.
Of the ones that are currently active, have reduced, 41% of them have reduced their price.
And then how many days are they on the market?
The ones currently still on the market, 41% had to reduce their price and they've been on the market 41 days.
41 days. Now our average days or median days on market is what? 16. So there are a lot of homes that are still on the market at 41 days and have had, I think that's a huge percentage of this price range. But if they had it priced right.
So number pending, this is of all the properties, the ones that had to reduce and didn't reduce, there's 746 of them. And what percent are currently under contract?
32%.
32% had to reduce their price. Of the ones under contract, 32% had to reduce their price to get it under contract. So the ones that you went and checked on active under contract or pending, what this is saying is 32% of those that are currently under contract had to reduce their price to get there. Make sense? Okay, keep going.
Now, if you price it right, and they got 100% of their asking, so they're right there, we've got 15 days on market, or excuse me, sold median days is 15.
Yeah, no price reduction if they did it right.
It's 8 days.
8 days. Yeah, and they got, sold median days on market, so no price reduction, they did 8 days. Out of all of them that sold, it took 16 days, and the note, if they didn't have to reduce it, they got on average 100%. Let me give you a really quick way to use this chart without getting confused, okay? Let's say right now you have a listing, and I'm going to give you the listing side, I'm going to give you the buyer side, all within less than 60 seconds, okay? If you have a listing, let's say it's a $500,000 listing. If it's been on the market more than 14 days, right? The chances are it's going to take 74 days to sell it at 93.5% of list price. Do you understand that? I'm saying again, if you have a listing that's priced between, what is that? $400,000 to $500,000. Yeah, $400,000 to $500,000. It's gonna, if it's been 15 days and it hasn't gone under contract, it's probably gonna take 85 days and sell for 93.9% of sale price. Okay, so if you're talking to the seller and you're talking about a price reduction, what kind of price reduction should you get? If it's a $500,000 house and it's gonna sell for ultimately right at 94%, that's 6%. What's 6% of $500,000? It's probably gonna sell for $470. Now, I don't know that I'd say right then, let's drop to $470, but I'm telling you a $5,000 price reduction, $3,000 price reduction, not gonna do it. Show them this chart, say, I'm not saying jump down $30,000 right now, but we probably want to jump down, I'd probably jump down 15,
25 to get into the next.
20, but they really need to sell quickly, drop it down to 25,000. Makes sense?
When it's priced right, hopefully, the goal is that you're gonna get more than one offer, which still counts as multiple offers.
Right.
And so when you price it right, and you're at the right price point, you don't keep it in the same one.
Yeah.
If you're at 450, you drop it to 430, that's still in the same 425 to 450 search point that most of the search engines use.
Sure.
So when I look at this and I see the number of percentages of price reductions, and I'm having a conversation with the seller, I'm back to that script. If we have no showings in 7 days, or 7 showings and no offers, we need to act quickly. You could do 7 to 10 days, whatever you want, but we need to act quickly before we're on the market for 85 days and selling for 93%. And I love the thing that for a buyer is if a buyer comes to me and say, I want a deal, when is the market gonna crash? At 14 days. We're not gonna look at any new active listings, right? If they're hot off the gate and they're gonna sell within the first week at 100% of list price, that's not your goal. You want a deal. So we're gonna look at homes that are been on the market for at least 14 days.
Ask this question, what's more important to you, a distressed property or getting a good deal on the home? What would a good investor say?
Getting a good deal.
Getting a good deal on the home, right? So how can you do this? Run a search for the properties that have been on the market more than 90 days or more than 14 days. The longer they've been on the market, the more likely you are for them to accept the lower offer. Here's a great way to do this. A lot of smart agents do this. We talk about the listing side. You know, how much should they reduce if it hasn't sold? If it's been more than 15 days, you need to reduce the price, right? That's where you need to reduce the price. So let's say on the buying side and they're making an offer. And they're what, has this happened to you? Where you know, it's a brand new listing and they want to go in 10, 15, 20 grand under list price. If we know that the likelihood of that happening is very, very slim, right? So here's what you do on the buying side. If your buyer makes a low offer on a property and it's one that's been on the market for a little while, send this sheet in with it. With your offer, send this sheet in, right? Highlight what price range they're in, right? You can highlight it. And you see how this says if they're 500,000 to 600,000, it's been on the market more than 14 days, it's probably gonna sell at 93.5% of list price. That's $30,000+ off that property, right? So when you're making that low offer, send this in, highlight this, and say, all right, help me justify a higher price for your house. Show me the comps. Because when you send this in, I've seen one agent make an exhibit on the contract, on the offer. I don't let it go that far. That's a great way to make sure that.
I send it into the printer, and I get what they were going for.
I don't know that I do that.
That's the thing, they were probably trying to get it to be part of the lender.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily do an exhibit, but I would definitely attach it to the offer. Okay, makes sense? We talked about listing side, how much you should reduce, definitely pull out this sheet. And then buying side, I wouldn't necessarily pull this sheet out and show my buyer. Like if the property's been on the market for more than 11 days, I don't know that I'd suggest they go in at 92% of list price. You know what I mean? That's just asking for trouble. However, I would sit this in with my offer to the other agent, you know, and say, hey, here's how we came up with this. It makes sense? Okay, let's say you have a listing. I want to help you guys here. And you're sitting there and the comps are telling you that it should be listed at, you know, $500,000, but they're pushing for 525 or 530. Okay, and let's say they're deciding to go with another agent because of that. What do you say? What words could you use to maybe convince them otherwise? To get them to give you the listing, right? Put that in a sentence for me. What would you say? They're saying, I think I'm gonna go with this other agent because they told me they listed at 530.
Would you rather go just on the market for 85 days, or would you rather your home be on the market for 7 days with the potential of multiple offers?
That works. What else?
Is that agent willing to put in a special stipulation in their listing contract that you can open up agents again if they have to drop the price?
Love that, Jonathan. So in the special stipulations, add in there that the listing agent suggests that they reduce the price, that they can immediately cancel the contract. That's a great one. Yeah, what else? Could you do this, right? You know, your goal, my goal, you know, Jonathan, my goal for you is not to list your house, my goal is to sell your house, right? And the most frustrating thing you can do is pack up your entire house, you know, tell your whole family you're about to move and then not sell. And I don't want you to fall into this category. We're sitting on the market months on end, the home that's sold, kids that's getting in the school district they need to be in. I want to get this home sold. And here's what I like to do. The comps are telling us we should be listed at $500,000. You're saying you really want to test the market at 530. You see what's at stake if we do this. Here's what I would be comfortable doing. We'll put it on the market. We're going to put in special stipulations that should we get to 8 days, we don't have this property in their contract, all parties agree to reduce its price to $500,000 list price. Because in my eyes, that's when my marketing starts to work, right? I don't want that number to kind of get. I'm comfortable doing it, as long as we all agree that 8 days, we're going to reduce it. Why would I put in the special stipulations?
Because it's already got it.
So you have to have the conversation again.
You've already had the conversation and they've already agreed to it. There's your in writing, we're doing a price reduction. So
Clients have amnesia. They're like, oh, the right buyer just hasn't come through yet.
yeah.
You know? Sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Right, right.
Yeah, right. What marketing are you gonna do for me this week to get the home sold? What else are you gonna do? You can't sell an overpriced jug of milk. You know, they go right down the street, get the same jug of milk from Publix, you know, cheaper than whatever, it's the same, I mean, that's not good now, but you get yeah, so you get the point. So put it in the special stipulation, then you don't even have to ask for it. Because when you get to day 9, if it says by day 8 of the time of contract, we're gonna reduce it to $500,000. You get to day 9, you just send them a notification, hey, good news, we just adjust the price to this, and I promoted it on all the websites, it's been updated everywhere, I'm looking forward to get some more traffic and get most. You know?
For the list.
Yeah, we're using everything.
Write that down.
I've never done this, but I'd be curious if you kind of flipped it on the side, you said, I'm curious if you're buying a house and I pull the comp, you know, the comp for 500, there's a house for 530, would you offer 530 for that house? Now, I feel like if someone says, yeah, of course I would, really, why would you offer 30? I'll put it around the comp for the 5.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I kind of see your point, yeah, I probably would offer 500, that's all the comps were. Okay, well then, do you think we should probably do that for your house as well, that you would get offers on it?
Yeah, great, anytime you can play it out like that, yeah.
So when we're talking about if it doesn't sell X amount of time, do we put a program together where at 10 days is this, 20 days, we hit it again in 30 days?
I've done that in the past. Here's what you want to be careful of. If it's at like 7, 14, and 21, smart agents, they're on the other end of buying in, and then you do like a set percent, we're gonna reduce by 3% every 7 days until it goes under contract. Smart buyers agents will look at the history, they'll be able to figure it out, and they'll time it, right? So if you do it that way, I've done it that way. Just pick like day 8 and then day 17, and like, you know what I mean? Like fix it up a little bit.
Unusual days.
Yeah.
Aubrey, yes, John. So for listings right now, it's a lot tougher to do comps because of the lack of.
A lot.
Do you have any suggestions on that? Cause cause I've got some homes, it's like, man, it's tough because you'll get like 3 homes and one shows the higher price, one shows the lower, and it's just, it's been tough.
Yeah, really easy solution to that. This is what I typically say to the listing agent. I say, look, the trouble right now is not gonna be getting your home under contract. A lot of trouble right now is getting into appraisal. Like, we'll have issues with appraisal, you know? So, the worst thing that could happen to you is you pack up your whole house, you get under contract, you put a down payment on the next home, and then it falls apart the last minute because of appraisal. I don't want that to happen to you. So here's what I recommend we do. I recommend we get a pre-listing appraisal. And what I'll do is I'll reimburse you for half of that appraisal price at the closing fee. Okay, here's what we'll do for you, hopefully in 2 different ways. Okay, number one, when that buyer ends up going under contract and they have an appraiser come by and look at it, a lot of these appraisers use something called RELS, real estate something systems, where if somebody who's getting out of $500, they're getting maybe 250 of it. They're not going to fight to give us the price that we really want. If we're able to hire somebody in the front end and give them the comps, they can take their time, right? And they're more likely to give us a good price. And here's why this helps you. Here's the 2 ways. Number one, when we're negotiating with another agent, I can actually send this back to them. They make a low offer. I can send this back to them and say, hey, this is why we're counter offering where we're at, right? Okay, so that's number one, helping in negotiations. Number 2, when the buyer's lender does finally get an appraisal done, I can leave this sitting on the kitchen table with a big sign that says, attention appraiser, you're allowed to provide data. You guys know that? Like, you can absolutely leave this appraisal out to them. That's like doing it.
Share with all of y'all about what to leave for an appraiser on the bid day. And sometimes they like to see you there and sometimes they don't, but I always write a nice note saying, thanks for visiting the property. Please find and close the comps I used to establish the purchase price.
And you just save them hours of work.
They
love it.
Yes.
And you go.
And CS Murphy pre-appraisal, they will defend that appraisal after the fact. So if your appraisal for the lender comes in low, even though you provided them with a wonderful report, DS Murphy will come back and do a rebuttal for you.
Right, yeah.
On the real estate report that we print out, there's an ABM on there that gives you
Range.
a range. It's helpful. If you got nowhere, like, you can't get comps.
It gives you at least it's not accurate, but it gives you an idea.
It just gives you, do you think your house is worth more than this? Okay, but this is what they're saying. RPR usually somewhat accurate, sort of. RPR.
They're using a computer algorithm, and
Exactly.
the more unique the property is, the more off that number is going to be. You know, Marianne?
Yes, and remember, they're using, especially in Gwinnett County, they're including the freaking garage in their square footage. They're including basement in their square footage. They're including this, that, and the other things. You really have to look at that number of square footage, because if it's a slab house, you have, and they haven't done much, you've got a little better idea, but you could have an actual 2,500 square foot house that realist is calling, 4,500. Because there's a basement and there's a garage and all this other stuff.
Well, and you gotta remember, it's AI, right? It's not human, it's not, it's an AI, it's an algorithm that's put together. And I think you can go in and manipulate the comp, so if you're like, okay, I think, say it's using 2-story traditional homes for a split level on a non-desirable street. Right, you can go in and can manipulate those comps to still get a more accurate range. But if someone brings up an issue, with the right price for it, I think it's a great idea to go ahead and get that pre-appraisal. And then, the pre-listing appraisal, and it's a fantastic gift to them if you're gonna reimburse them half.
And notice I said half it closing, so then cost me money up front, but it didn't sell on the pay.
And just put it in your listing agreement. And that the purpose of the appraisal is to list at or below the appraised value.
And if it's a special, unique property, then, you can always say that your property is so unique and beautiful. And I think this is the best idea going forward.
Especially.
Especially unique when it happens.
But the takeaway from this, I just want you guys to really look at the bottom line, if it doesn't sell in 15 days, right? Then it's probably gonna sell, I'm sorry, no price reduction, if it doesn't sell in 8 days, you're probably gonna have to reduce the price. A no price reduction, if you get to 8 days, you're gonna have to reduce the price, and it's probably gonna sell for 92.8% of the list price. Make sense? So don't make these small price reductions, they gotta be large. Let's go on the next one, I know we're running out of time. Go skip this one, I wanna go to the next, keep going again. Okay, this one, this is what this means. So the different price points, there were 3,598 closings in those 8 metro counties, right, that sold last month. Overall median sales price and list price, they got out of those 3,500, 99.8% of list price. They got really high. Okay, the number of closings with a sales price less than 100%, or is it greater than, go backwards, 1,700. 49% of them sold for above 100%. And the ones that did sell above 100% sold for 101.8. This is confusing. Let me say it another way. Overall, homes sold for 99.8% of list price. If they didn't have to reduce the price and they sold for more than list price, they sold for 101% of list price. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty powerful chart showing how strong our market is right now. That was not that way 3 or 4 months ago. Go to the next one. The chart. We talked about this is the one where the media could just blow it up and say everything's bad, but it's in context. Go to the next one.
And I think this is the one to talk to, when we're talking to the masses, when we're reporting on what the news really is. If an article comes out on Fox 5 tomorrow, I want you to put it into layman's terms of what's happening in our market and how 87.5% higher is not the skyfall.
If I posted this chart on social media today, I would say something like, don't be fooled by the media who sells fear, right? At a first glance, it could look like the market's having trouble. The reality is a good days on market, a normal one is 45 days. The months of inventory should be, a balanced market is 6 months, whereas the extreme shortage of inventory. Pending ratio is one of the highest numbers it's been outside of last year, right? One of the highest numbers we've ever seen. We are in a strong market. And there's another slide I'll get to, will be the end all, and I'll use almost everything. Anything else you'd add to this?
Yep, that's it.
Okay, this is the one I love. I love it. You want to talk about it first? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
The year of your slide, real quick.
Which one?
The year of your slide.
You're yeah, so my like,
So-
this one or the down there?
Go back down one here.
The other one.
So basically, if someone bought a house last year and then they need to sell this year, you should be setting the expectation that, hey, you're probably gonna maybe break even or maybe sell it for a little bit less.
Yeah, the median original list price is 3.3% higher. Median sales price is actually slightly lower. That's like 1.5%.
1.5%.
About the same, but they absolutely probably would be coming to the table with money, which nobody should go and make money in 1 year in real estate unless they bought it like a flip or something like that.
And that's why distressed properties do not exist.
Yeah, there's how many, what's the percentage?
The unicorn years of 20% year over year. This is annoying, but homes are still, the prices are still going up. Median sales price last year is 450 and now it's 465. You're still getting a massive amount for your home.
I could take this one and blow it up if I was the news. Like you realize going from 0.4 to 0.6 is like a it's a 33% increase in distressed sales. So I can take this and say 33% increase in distressed sales, the market's crashing.
At 0.6.
Yeah, but it went from 0.4 to 0.6%. You take it out of context, that's what we have to be the context. Like, okay, look at that 6 month chart. So here's what happens. What's the law of supply and demand? What's it say?
Demand up, price up.
Exactly. So, active, which way is it trending? So supply is going which way?
Down.
Down, right? Okay, pending shows the demand, which way is pending going? Up. Okay, here we go, right? Pending ratio going up. Sold, it was scary 5 months ago, scary for a second there, and then it went back up, right? Distress sales overall going down. Failed listings overall, it was scary for a second and then going down. Median original list price going up, median sales price going up. This shows so clearly supply and demand drives prices, right? Less inventory, more demand, prices going up. This is the market that we're in right now. And it's not looking like it's gonna get any easier. So if you need to make a move that's important to you right now, then do it right now.
Aubrey, I feel like this might be a little bit more than usual, that this just shows seasonality. I mean, I know we lost it for 2 years, but it just shows seasonality once again is back.
It does. Yeah. I think I heard a voice in the sky saying something.
Question?
Yes?
So I see the trend, 6 month trend is going up. But again, seasonality says that after June, the prices are going to generally fall. How do you balance those two?
Homes, that's a great, who was that said that?
Joe.
Is that Joe? Yeah, homes typically, I don't know if you guys knew this, but homes typically sell for 6% less in the off season than they do the peak season. Know that? That is normal. Like that has happened for forever. And that's why motivation matters. Well, that's why you see less homes for sale in the winter months. You also have more motivated people that are buying and selling in the winter months.
So that's slightly off, and here's why. So
Yeah.
the reason why median sales price goes down and up is because median is based on the middle.
The middle.
And larger homes usually sell during the school year because larger homes typically have children in them that go to school. During the winter months, these people are not selling those larger homes, so the smaller homes stay. I actually think if you want to look at how the market's going, it's easier to look at condos and townhomes because typically those don't fluctuate as much with seasonality. They stay pretty steady. If you look at the numbers, they have a little bit, but not as much. So if you really want to understand the market a little better in terms of what's going on in the trends, look at townhomes and condos and their trends. I think it actually pinpoints it a little better.
That's an interesting insight, and there could be some truth to that. Absolutely, I haven't looked that far into it. My alignment on that is that could be the reality. I love median because median throws out the outliers. You guys know the difference between average and median.
What else did they hit on today? Was the
Yeah.
difference between average and median, because those outliers of $5 million homes that get thrown in there every so often can skew an average number, or a lot of, we don't see it, but a lot of distressed properties or one or two could really change the average, where a median right through the middle is gonna give you, I think, a more accurate.
Especially on a neighborhood basis. I mean, you have one low sale distress, that could throw off everything for the neighborhood. Don't look at necessarily the average, look at the median. Okay, so we'll be here in there.
Yeah, so again, like I asked at the beginning, how can I make this a little more into a specific pocket of North Fulton or Gwinnett or something like that?
There's the other chart that's in Chart Masters, you can actually pull up and click just on a particular area. So you can actually plug in that area code and it spits out these numbers for you just for that area.
But for May or something?
What's that?
For the month of May?
For the May, yeah, I believe it does, yeah, but yeah, they're interactive.
And this chart, and this map right here shows what the area numbers are. So FMLS took away our area numbers a couple of years ago, and
Right.
Chart Masters recreated them, and I think made it better. Because we all know that Gwinnett County's south and north is not the same.
Sure, west and east, actually, yeah.
And so I really like the way that they broke this down into area numbers. Those are-
Question?
Yes, Jeff.
Another question. So I've used to use this by the counties and the areas, which was good, but lately I've been going to the info sparks of FMLS to find out what's happening in that particular neighborhood. How would you suggest using those versus this chart?
That is a really great resource, that info spark on FMLS. If you haven't used it, play around with it.
And you can adjust that 10 ways to Sunday. Yeah, it's really good.
And you can, that's a great one to share with your community that you're farming and that you really want to have a niche area.
Good.
But if you want to know what the monthly stats are for the MMOs in a certain area, that other part has an interactive spot
Right, it does.
in the.
So go back and look at the email that has this subject of MMO, and it has more, these are all condos and attached housing. So here's what we're gonna do today, I know we're a little past time. We definitely cover market stats, just like we did that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't sell, how many days is it? If it doesn't sell, how many days?
8.
About 8, depending on price range, about 8, you make a price adjustment. What does that price adjustment need to be? Probably what percent? 5 or 6, but depending on price range, probably 5 or 6%. 5 or 6% of a $500,000 house is 25 to 30 grand, right? So it's not a $5,000 adjustment. We covered days on market, months of inventory, right? Which have been going down, which is good. We talked about how to put this in conversations with your client. That 6-month chart is probably the easiest one to show somebody. Say, hey, tell me about supply and demand. What do you see? They're saying, oh, supply is going up. I'm sorry, supply is going down, demand is going up, the price is going up. That's your market, right? Don't get caught into the bad news media sells. Attracting new clients. How can you do this? This one we didn't touch on a whole lot. Be the economist of choice, do what Jonathan's doing, and put a post. Put a post. We're saying, hey, despite what you see in the media, here's what's really going on in the market. These are the real MLS stats, not pull out of context, and show them those and talk through them just like we just did, right? Put it in your newsletter to your clients, put it on social media, talk about it. Keep a copy of it in your phone when you talk to people. Avoid real estate jargon. We talked about it a couple of times, how to change your dialogue. What is months of supply, right? That was an example that we used. Elevator pitch in 2 seconds. Go back down. Yeah, I would say right now we've got a little bit. If I'm giving them a quick snapshot, I'm gonna pick the good stuff in the market. If somebody says, how's the market? The market's on fire. Why do you ask? And let them talk for a second. And they say, tell me about it. You know, they might say, well, why did you say I say, because we're back to a point again, where homes are selling for 99.8% of list price. And it's only taking 15 days for them to sell, right? And the interesting though is 20% of the homes are still failing. Even that's a good number. It gets them to ask, ooh, why? Right? And you say, they say, why? You said, why? What will be your answer? If they ask why?
Price too high.
People are still overpricing their houses, you know? That in that 30 seconds, you're gonna have a opposite choice. Does that make sense? That's how I use that. So, cover the MMOs. We talked about some ways to get around interest rates, looking up properties that have assumable mortgages will be one way to do it. Where to move. Now you can reach out to neighborhoods, right? Find out that, you know, where do these people want to move? Reach out to that neighborhood saying, I have a buyer that'd like to move, and you may have something that your other neighbors don't. Say, what's that? You say, there's assumable mortgage. Let's talk about what that looks like. And I might be able to find you where you want to go with another assumable mortgage. Requires extra work because you're creating inventory out of thin air. Yep, Enrique.
One quick conversation that you can have, especially in the elevator pitch, if you would, right? You can memorize the stats and you can spew them out, right?
Yeah.
But they may not reflect the reality of that particular property this individual owns in the particular neighborhood. So you could add to it and say, this is what's going on in the county, this is what's going on in the metro area. Wouldn't you like to set up a one-on-one so I can tell you what's going on in your neighborhood?
So real estate is hyper-local. Hyper-local.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for being here. Yeah. Okay, did we hit pretty much everything? You guys feel better? I didn't, you know what's that? Remember, we started this saying this. We can't have no one do everything. The point today was to have a little bit better understanding of what's going on in the market and how to have conversations around it. Do you feel like we accomplished that today?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'll stick around for a couple minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Should we get to Thank you.
And then Nikki,
Yeah.
she emails this every single month around the 6th.
Yeah, good one, all right.
And if you go to the internet, go to Chartmaster and then go to MMO and it'll list them in there and just go to May 2023.
And you'll get the interactive.
And you'll find this one plus the interactive PowerPoint.
Can you carry around the ball? Thank you.
Be able to speak in and be the economist of choice for all of our clients. And I think really honing in on these numbers every month and getting into that. Oh, that's so exciting. You know,
Yeah, right. That was about the phone.
Just.
This leg,
That was about the phone, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, I just leaned forward on it. This one.
It's
Once they're close.
It really should get taken down.
Yeah.
However, somebody that is strong enough to do that needs to do it, because some of us couldn't.
Yeah, we
need to take it down.
This one you said is
Yeah,
all.
that one, yes.
Okay.
Well, no, they're supposed to be here, not here. I was leaning this way. Yeah. Yeah. I'm staying with small fingers.